Negotiating an offer is not typically a fight between the buyer and the seller. However, it is more of a conversation of terms between a buyer and a seller. There are 10 common items that are negotiated, and the most talked about is price. Considering the fair market value is the most common settlement point, a seller should be warned that the farther they move away from fair market, the less likely the home could sell, and the lower a buyer offers away from fair market, the less likely the seller will be enticed by their offer. It is very important for both buyer and seller to understand the fair market value of a property to determine realistic expectations.
Closing costs. Buyers have to pay closing costs for their mortgage, which are lender, title, and closing fees. These fees are a flat dollar amount or a percentage that a buyer may ask the seller to pay. This is a normal trade-off, as the buyer will typically pay more for the property as the seller will increase the price in proportion to the amount of the closing costs requested. Closing date. Depending on the type of transaction, the total time to close the deal may take 20 to 45 days. A cash transaction typically can be done quickly in the 15 to 20 day range, while a loan purchase can take 30 to 45 days to complete. The time to close can be very tricky to negotiate, as the buyer and seller may not be on the same page in terms of time. Knowing the accurate time frame and communicating between both parties can help achieve a smooth closing date.
Financing. Cash is truly king in real estate. Offering a cash offer supported by a proof of funds can be the most enticing offer to a seller, as long as the terms are still reasonable. A cash offer also removes any financing contingencies for the transaction, which will ensure the seller that a major piece of the puzzle is completed, the money. A fully confident and pre-approved buyer can also remove a financing contingency. This means that a buyer is very confident and insured by the bank that they are able to get their loan. Note, this should only be done with a conventional loan, and also a buyer should seek consult of their local lender. A seller should ensure that there is earnest money in a transaction without a financing contingency to add an extra layer of assurance that the buyer's loan is truly good to go.
Home warranty. A buyer can ask for a home warranty, or a seller can offer one. This protection plan covers the home's appliances and mechanical systems, like the refrigerator or hot water heater, in the event these things break or need repair. Possession days. Typical possession times are on the day of closing, 15 days after closing, and 30 days after closing. Normally, a vacant property will have the option of immediate possession, and an occupied home will be 15 plus days after closing to allow for the previous owner to finish packing and move out. Depending on the scenario, a buyer can offer the seller a longer possession time, even up to 90 days, to grant them more time to move.
Home repairs. A buyer can have some decent leverage in negotiation when it comes to a non-functioning item in a property, such as a dishwasher or a furnace. It is very understandable and reasonable to negotiate the repair of a non-functioning item. In the same tone, a seller should ensure that all items in their home are in working order prior to placing it on the market. Sellers can also specify that their house is being sold as is, and they will not make any repairs.
Appraisal. In the event that the buyer is able and willing to contribute more money to the transaction, if the appraised value is not high enough, can be an incentive to the seller, as it ensures that the purchase price, as agreed upon, should not be impacted by the appraisal. A good way for the buyer to protect themselves is to add that the purchase is contingent upon the appraisal value being greater than or equal to the purchase price. If the appraisal is lower than the purchase price, a renegotiation of the price and terms would begin, or possibly the buyer may request a release from the transaction. Appliances. The built-in appliances such as the dishwasher, microwave, range vent hood, etc. typically stay with the property. But what about the rest? Normally, what stays is known to the buyer before looking. However, asking the agent or seller beforehand will allow for better clarity.
Inspection. Waiving an inspection often comes with buyer's remorse and should be done with great caution and consideration. However, waiving inspections can strengthen a buyer's offer, as no further negotiation will take place in the terms of inspections.